Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about PowerShell. One of the first things you really need to know about PowerShell is that it's an actual program. It's a simple program, but it's a step up above the command line utility. It is also taking over the command line utility. Eventually, the command line is going to disappear, and uh, the thing about PowerShell is that it's being used uh, widely over all Windows products, and you can actually use it on Linux as well and other programs. And the cool thing about PowerShell is that there are many versions of it, and it basically runs in tandem with the operating system. So, like if you have PowerShell, it's a program in its own, but it's snapped in a sense to the operating system. So the operating system has its own commands that the PowerShell uses, but the PowerShell has some commands built into it. And then whatever version it is, um, it has more functions and capabilities as you go up in the versions. I think with Windows 7, it started off with the first version of PowerShell and it didn't have much in it. And now I think we're up to 7.1, and it's very um, versatile in what it can do. Um, Not only does it have like an operating system commands, but you also have like other programs that run within Windows, like Windows creates other products that run within its operating system ecosystem. All right, so you have something like what is the Exchange, the Server Exchange. Um, they have commandlets. You have also different operating systems such as Windows Server, and that has um, different commands within it. So when you load it into the PowerShell, it becomes even more powerful and able to manipulate that product that you're also using on your operating system. So PowerShell in a whole is something that connects everything together, and it really depends on what version of the PowerShell you have, what operating system you have, whether it's 7, 8, 10. I think they skipped Vista, server, and then what types of Windows 10 you would have, like enterprise or something different. Uh, so it, then when you add in like something like Exchange, uh, you just have all this power at your fingertips on what you can do with programs and with the operating system. So let's go ahead and let's just start with the basics. And I'm not going to show you any of the actual commands or anything that you can do within PowerShell. I want to just show you PowerShell and show you exactly what how you can configure it and how you can have it work for you, because it is customizable, and um, you can do a lot of things with just the PowerShell alone to make you feel more comfortable. All right, now down here on my taskbar, I went ahead and locked it onto my taskbar. All right, there's two different kinds of PowerShell. Then you have the backwards compatible x86 PowerShell. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, the x86 PowerShells. Those are just for 32-bit operating systems if you have one. But these days, you'll be hard pressed to have a 32-bit system unless you really want to use a 32-bit system. You'd have to go out and buy, something from over 10 years ago in order to actually get something that would work on a 32-bit system. Not that you can't, but these days everything is 64-bit. Okay, so we have a PowerShell window here. Normally, you want to run PowerShell as an administrator. So what I do, I mean, run as an administrator, yes. Now you want to be careful when you do this too, because most of the time when you're running PowerShell, if you close out of PowerShell, anything that you've put into the PowerShell, you've totally um, erased it. Like it only works within that window of PowerShell. All right, but we're not going to go into too much about that right now. What we want to do is we want to focus on how to we configure PowerShell. All right, you see how we have a blue background here? We can change all that. This right here is actually a way to get into the settings of PowerShell. We can go down to properties here, and as you can see, there are some tabs that we can actually manipulate. Way back in the day, Windows 7, um, the fonts were really bad. See here, cursor size, it's fine, it's small. You have a quick edit mode, I keep that on. Insert mode on. I pretty much keep everything on. I'll turn on control, copy paste, that kind of stuff, because it's a lot easier because I'm lazy. You can use legacy mode, but I mean, for us, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Fonts, I like a good size font, but we don't want it too big. Let's see how 24 looks. Yeah, that's much better for visibility. I'm okay with the way it looks. Consoles is fine with me. Here, you can change it to whatever font you want. You can do bold fonts if you wanted to, but I'm good with that. Layout. Okay, you generally want to keep the height around the same size. Um, the width is what you really want to worry about. Because basically, if there's a scroll bar down here, you're unable to see to the right. Um, what happens is some of the output that you enter in with the actual PowerShell, what'll happen is you may enter something in and the output would be in the right hand side, but you can't see it. And then you'll be thinking, nothing happened, nothing happened. You'll be sitting there for 10, 20 minutes going, oh my God, where is it? I mean, I keep typing in the command, I don't see it. Oh yeah, the scroll bar down here. And then you have to like scroll all the way to the right and then it'll be there. So you want all the output to be able to be seen on the screen. You don't want anything to the right here. Um, so you don't make that mistake. Make the width a little bit wider. Window position. I'm not worried about that. Okay. There we go. There's no scroll bar. That's the important part. Okay. Normally I usually have it up like this anyways. But I just want to make sure there's no scroll bars on the bottom. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else we need to worry about in the properties here. Colors. Well, we'll go with layout. Oh, we did layout. Colors. All right. Here we are with colors. Now, you can change the background and the foreground. A lot of people like the black background. It reminds them of the command line days. And then you can have the ugly green if you wanted to. Do the black. And then screen text. Get a screen background. Pop-up background. Can be okay, let's go ahead and open up the PowerShell ISE real quick and show you that one. Like I said before, this is what we use for scripting. If you wanted to create a script file, this is where you want to do it. And also, the cool part is they have actually a library of all the commands that are in the PowerShell at that moment. So these are all the commands that you can do with the PowerShell utility in the ISE. So it makes it easy to search for tools that way as well. So I think that's a pretty awesome. So let's go over a few things in PowerShell. All right. Um, it's divided into sections. Now, the earlier versions, if you have like Windows 7 or 8, it actually has 3 panes that it shows you. Like this would be divided into, you would have your output screen, and then you would have your script, and then when you run the script, it would show like what the output would be on the screen. So you have an input and output. So uh, this is a little different. Um, they got rid of it and they added this window in here. They figured this was a lot more um, helpful than having a third screen in here trying to show you what the output would be. So I think all the advancements they're making are correct choices. You can create a new file. You can create, you can open a script if you wanted to. You can save a script. You can cut and paste. This is where you would navigate the type of pane that you want to create. I kind of like this one myself because I like to know, the script that I'm typing. It's, I can read left to right pretty much, and these are all my commands. And this will like, if you have a dual screen, you can close this out here, and you can actually float this around. And if you have dual screen, you can put that on another screen so it's not in the way. So you can actually, I know you can't see my other screen, but I would put it over here, and that way I have more room, more real estate to work with my commands, so I can actually see my commands. So I think that's pretty nifty. And of course, you have files. Edit. Now the tools is the same thing. All right. You can do your colors and features. Um, how things are going to look. You can change all that. I tend to just leave it alone for the most part because all I'm worried about is, can I get in, do what I need to do, and get out. I don't spend a lot of time in PowerShell. U.S. technicians in the beginning won't use a lot of the PowerShell, but when you get into servers, a lot of companies are going into a non-GUI interface with servers that they have on their machines. So you may have to actually learn PowerShell in order to navigate through an operating system to people that have servers, in their buildings, and they're not using the cloud network. So that's something you want to know about. Well, that concludes this lesson in PowerShell. I didn't want you to get too bogged down into what things are until you actually knew how to navigate around PowerShell. Those are just the small things, but once you start working with it a little bit more, you'll feel more comfortable about all these selections, and you'll find a lot of more stuff that I didn't go over, but it's just not that important right now. What you just need to know is how to actually get into PowerShell, adjust your font size, uh, make whatever color that you feel comfortable with, and where the scripting utility is, so we can actually start making commands and figuring out exactly how PowerShell works. Okay, all right, talk to you in the next video.